The art of letting go. You wake up at 3 a.m. again. Your mind is racing, replaying that conversation from 3 years ago. Every word, every pause, every lie he told while looking you in the eyes. He's gone from your life, but he's still living rent-free in your head. This is what holding on looks like. It's not dramatic. It's the quiet erosion of your peace, one sleepless night at a time. It's the hypervigilance in new relationships, because the last one taught you that love comes with betrayal. It's the walls you've built so high that even the right people can't climb them. The thing you're holding on to is holding you back. Right now, millions of women are walking around with invisible chains, mentally imprisoned by relationships that ended years ago, emotionally paralyzed by words someone said that they've internalized as truth, spiritually exhausted from trying to control what was never theirs to control. Society told them this was normal, that time heals all wounds, that they just need to think positive and move on. All lies. Time doesn't heal wounds. It just gives you more time to rehearse them. The cost, your sleep, your joy, your ability to trust, your nervous system stuck in chronic stress mode, believing the danger from 5 years ago is still here today. You're not just remembering the past, you're reliving it daily. This book isn't about toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. This is about mastery, the mastery of knowing what to hold on to and what to release. Because here's what genuinely free women understand. Holding on to what hurts you doesn't protect you, it poisons you. They don't carry yesterday's pain into today's possibilities. They understand that letting go isn't weakness. It's reclaiming power that was always theirs. Let me destroy a few myths. Letting go means forgetting. No, your memories remain. What changes is the emotional charge. You need to forgive to move on. Wrong. You can release someone's impact without forgiving what they did. Time heals all wounds. Time is neutral. What heals is what you do with time. Strong women don't need help. The strongest women know when to learn the skills that actually work. This book gives you 3 things: the psychology, why your brain holds on to pain; the neuroscience, how to work with your brain's healing mechanisms; the practice, specific techniques you can use immediately, not theory, tools. This book is for you if you replay conversations from years ago, can't trust new people because old people proved untrustworthy, stay stuck in situations you've outgrown, carry guilt for choices you made when doing your best, want to love without losing yourself, are ready to stop being defined by what happened to you. You're not too much. You've just been carrying too much. On the other side of this work is a version of you that wakes up without scanning for threats, enters relationships with curiosity, not suspicion, pursues goals without past failures whispering, "You'll fail again," sets boundaries without guilt, loves deeply without losing herself. She's not fearless. She feels fear and acts anyway. She's not perfect. She's free. That woman isn't a fantasy. She's who you become when you master the art of letting go. So here's your invitation. Put down the weight. Not because it wasn't heavy, but because you deserve to walk through life without dragging chains. Your peace, your power, your presence, your potential. The art of letting go isn't about losing something, it's about gaining everything. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Invisible Chains. Why we hold on to what hurts us. There's a woman I know, let's call her Maya. Successful career, beautiful apartment, great friends. On paper, her life looked perfect. But every night, she'd lie awake, replaying a breakup from 4 years ago. 4 years. The relationship lasted 18 months. The aftermath consumed 48. Maya wasn't weak. She wasn't dramatic. She was stuck in the most common emotional trap that exists: attachment to pain. Here's what most people don't understand about holding on. You're not doing it because you enjoy suffering. You're doing it because your brain believes it's keeping you safe. The psychology of emotional hoarding. Your brain is a survival machine, not a happiness machine. Its primary job isn't to make you feel good, it's to keep you alive. And one of the ways it does this is by cataloging every painful experience as data about potential threats. Someone betrayed you? Your brain files that under "people can't be trusted. Stay vigilant." You failed publicly? Filed under risk equals humiliation, avoid exposure. Someone abandoned you? Filed under love leads to loss, build walls. This made perfect sense when we lived in caves, and remembering which berries were poisonous could save your life. But in the modern world, this same mechanism keeps you emotionally imprisoned long after the actual danger has passed. You're not holding on to the memory. You're holding on to the meaning your brain assigned to it. And that meaning becomes the lens through which you see everything. New relationships, new opportunities, new possibilities, all filtered through old pain. Neuroscientist Dr. Rick Hansen calls this the negativity bias. Your brain is literally wired to hold on to negative experiences more strongly than positive ones. You can receive 10 compliments and obsess over the one criticism. You can have 9 good dates and fixate on the one who ghosted you. This isn't a personality flaw, it's neurology. But understanding this changes everything. Because when you realize that your tendency to hold on is a feature of your operating system, not a bug in your character, you can learn to work with it instead of against it. The difference between love and attachment. Maya thought she was still in love with her ex. She wasn't. She was attached to him. And these are completely different things. Love is expansive. It wants the best for the other person, even if that doesn't include you. It enhances both people. It creates freedom. Love says, I want you to be happy, even if your happiness doesn't involve me. Attachment is constrictive. It needs the other person to validate you, complete you, or prove something about your worth. It possesses. It controls. It imprisons. Attachment says, I need you to be a certain way so I can feel okay about myself. When Maya talked about her ex, she didn't describe missing who he actually was. She described missing who she thought he could become. She was attached to potential, not reality. Attached to the story she'd written in her head, not the man who actually showed up. She'd say things like, if he had just tried harder, if he'd been more emotionally available, if the timing had been different. But if only isn't love. It's denial dressed up as hope. Real love accepts reality. Attachment clings to fantasy. Real love can grieve and move forward. Attachment gets stuck in an endless loop of what could have been. And here's the brutal truth that no one wants to hear. If you're still obsessing over someone years later, you're not in love with them. You're in love with the version of yourself you were when you were with them. Maybe you felt more alive, more desired, more hopeful. And losing that person feels like losing that version of yourself. So you hold on, hoping that if they came back, you'd feel that way again. But you wouldn't, because you've changed. They've changed. And trying to resurrect something that's already dead only keeps you from building something new. Why past relationships poison present possibilities? Here's what happened to Maya after that breakup. She started dating again. Met a genuinely good man. kind, consistent, emotionally available, everything her ex wasn't, and she sabotaged it within 3 months. Why? Because her nervous system was still wired for the chaos of her previous relationship. The new guy's stability felt boring, his consistency felt suspicious, his emotional availability felt overwhelming. She'd never been treated well, so being treated well didn't feel like love. It felt like something was wrong. This is what unprocessed pain does. It doesn't just make you sad, it rewires your entire nervous system to expect, tolerate, and even seek out familiar patterns. Even when those patterns are destroying you, you become attracted to what's familiar, not what's healthy. You confuse intensity with intimacy. You mistake drama for passion. You interpret stability as lack of chemistry. And you end up rejecting the very thing you claim you want because your system doesn't recognize it as safe. Your past doesn't just affect your present, it programs your present. Every time Maya's new partner was kind, her brain whispered, "What's his angle? What does he want? When is he going to hurt you?" Every time he was consistent, her brain said, "This is boring. Where's the excitement? Where's the chase?" Every time he was emotionally available, her brain panicked. "This is too much. You're too exposed. Put the walls back up." She wasn't consciously choosing this. Her nervous system was running old programming, designed to protect her from repeating past pain. But the protection had become a prison. The secondary benefits of staying stuck. Here's something nobody talks about. There are hidden benefits to holding on to pain. I know that sounds insane. Why would anyone benefit from suffering? But if you look closely, there's always a payoff. Always. For Maya, holding on to her ex gave her an excuse not to risk being hurt again. As long as she was still healing from him, she didn't have to fully show up in new relationships. She could keep one foot out the door, protecting herself from potential pain. A sense of identity. She'd become the woman who was deeply hurt. People knew her story. They felt sorry for her. They treated her gently. Letting go meant losing that narrative, and with it, a certain kind of attention and care. Control over uncertainty. Holding on to a finished story felt safer than writing a new one with an unknown ending. The devil you know feels safer than the angel you don't. Proof that she was a deep person who loved intensely. If she could just get over it, what did that say about the depth of her feelings? About her capacity for love? This isn't conscious. You're not sitting there thinking, "I'm going to stay stuck because it benefits me." But your subconscious mind is brilliant at creating strategies that serve you, even when those strategies no longer work. And until you become aware of these secondary benefits, you'll sabotage every attempt to let go, because part of you doesn't actually want to. Why your brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar joy. Your brain has one primary directive: keep you alive, not happy, alive. And to your primitive nervous system, predictability equals safety. Even if that predictability is painful, this is why people stay in toxic relationships, why they remain in soul-crushing jobs, why they maintain friendships that drain them. It's not because they don't know better. It's because their nervous system has decided that the known pain is safer than the unknown possibility. Your brain would rather keep you in misery it recognizes than risk happiness it doesn't. Think about it. When something good happens unexpectedly, what's your first response? For most people, it's not pure joy, it's suspicion. What's the catch? When is this going to fall apart? I don't deserve this. Your nervous system is literally scanning for threats in positive experiences. Because if something feels too good, it must be dangerous. Because in your history, good things have led to disappointment. So your brain tries to protect you by sabotaging opportunities before they can fail naturally, creating problems where none exist, rejecting people before they can reject you, staying stuck in what you know rather than risking what you don't. This isn't self-sabotage. This is self-protection gone wrong. Your system is doing exactly what it was designed to do: keep you safe. It just doesn't understand that what kept you safe at 15 or during that traumatic relationship or after that devastating loss isn't what serves you now. The real story: the woman who couldn't date for 3 years. Let me tell you about Nadia. She was 32 when her fiancé left her 3 months before their wedding. He didn't just leave, he left for her best friend. The betrayal was double. The humiliation was public. The grief was total. For 3 years, Nadia didn't date, not because no one was interested. She was beautiful, successful, magnetic. Men asked her out constantly. She always said no. She told herself she was focusing on herself, healing, not ready. But the truth was darker and more human. She was terrified that if she opened her heart again, she'd be proven right. She was the kind of woman men leave. Holding on to the pain of that betrayal served a purpose. It kept her from having to risk discovering that maybe she was unlovable. Maybe there was something fundamentally wrong with her that made people abandon her. As long as she was still healing from trauma, she didn't have to test whether she was worthy of being chosen. This went on until her sister said something that changed everything. You're not protecting yourself from being hurt again. You're guaranteeing that you'll be alone forever. He already took 3 years of your life. How many more are you going to give him? That hit hard, because it was true. Nadia realized she'd turned her ex into a ghost that haunted every possibility. He wasn't in her life anymore, but he was controlling it completely. She'd given him more power after the breakup than he'd ever had during the relationship. The shift started when she asked herself, what if the lesson isn't that I'm unlovable? What if the lesson is that I survived something devastating and I'm still here? That reframe changed everything. She wasn't the woman men leave. She was the woman who got back up. She wasn't damaged goods. She was a survivor who now knew exactly what she wouldn't tolerate. 6 months later, she met someone kind, someone consistent, someone who showed up. And this time, when her nervous system screamed, "Run!" she didn't. She stayed. She felt the fear and chose vulnerability anyway. That relationship didn't work out long term, but it taught her something crucial. She could survive opening her heart again. She could risk and recover. She could love without losing herself. The person you're holding on to isn't the problem. The meaning you've assigned to what they did, that's the chain. What letting go actually means. Here's what letting go is not. It's not forgetting what happened. It's not pretending it didn't hurt. It's not saying what they did was okay. It's not denying the impact it had on you. Letting go is deciding that you're done letting the past control your present. It's choosing peace over being right, freedom over familiarity, growth over grudges. It's recognizing that carrying pain doesn't honor what you've been through. It just keeps you trapped in it. Letting go means you remember what happened, but it no longer has emotional charge. You learned the lessons without needing to keep reliving the pain. You can talk about it without your nervous system activating. You see it as something that happened, not something that defines you. Letting go is the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What do I want to create now?" It's not about them anymore. It's about you, your peace, your power, your future, and the beautiful truth. You don't need their apology, their understanding, their growth, or their acknowledgement to let go. Your freedom has nothing to do with them. It never did. The invisible chains you're carrying, you're the one holding the key. You always have been. Chapter 2: The Overthinking Trap. Breaking the mental loop. It's 2:47 a.m. You should be sleeping. Instead, you're lying in the dark, mentally rewriting a conversation from 6 months ago. You're crafting the perfect response you didn't say. You're imagining all the ways it could have gone differently. You're analyzing every word, every pause, every facial expression. And tomorrow you'll be exhausted. Not from doing anything, from thinking about everything. This is the overthinking trap. And if you're reading this, you know it intimately. The illusion of control. Here's what your brain tells you about overthinking. If I analyze this enough, I can figure out how to prevent it from happening again. If I replay it enough times, I'll find the moment where I could have changed the outcome. If I think about it hard enough, I'll finally understand why it happened. This is a lie your mind tells you to create the illusion of control. Because here's the brutal truth. No amount of thinking changes what already happened. No amount of mental rehearsal prevents future pain. No amount of analysis gives you control over other people's choices. Overthinking isn't problem solving, it's mental self-harm disguised as productivity. When you actually solve a problem, you feel relief, you get clarity, you move forward. But when you overthink, you just spiral deeper. You end up more confused, more anxious, more paralyzed than when you started. That's because overthinking isn't about finding answers. It's about avoiding feelings. Every minute you spend in your head analyzing, replaying, and rehearsing is a minute you don't have to feel the actual emotion underneath. The hurt, the rejection, the powerlessness, the fear. Your mind would rather torture you with thoughts than let you feel what you're actually feeling. And your mind is very good at this job. It'll keep you busy for hours, days, years, convincing you that you're processing when you're actually avoiding. The 3 a.m. replay syndrome. Let me describe a night you've definitely had. You're lying in bed. Your body is tired, but your mind is racing. You're replaying something that happened, a conversation, a text exchange, a moment that felt wrong. And you're not just remembering it, you're experiencing it again. Your heart rate increases, your stomach tightens, your breath becomes shallow, your body doesn't know the difference between remembering something painful and experiencing it fresh. So every time you replay that memory, you're re-traumatizing yourself. Neuroscience has proven this. When you recall a painful memory, your brain activates the same regions that fired during the original event. You're literally reliving it. The cortisol floods your system. The stress response triggers. Your nervous system believes the threat is happening right now. This is why some people can't move on. They're not just remembering the past, they're reliving it nightly. And here's where it gets worse. Every time you replay that memory, you strengthen the neural pathway associated with it. You're training your brain to default to that thought pattern. You're making it easier to spiral next time. Think of your brain like a forest. The thoughts you think most often create well-worn paths. The more you walk a path, the clearer it becomes. Eventually, it becomes the path of least resistance, your brain's automatic route. If you spend years replaying painful memories, analyzing hurtful conversations, and rehearsing worst-case scenarios, you're literally building highways to suffering in your brain. Your thoughts aren't just thoughts, they're construction projects. Analysis paralysis, when overthinking steals your life. Overthinking doesn't just steal your sleep, it steals your ability to take action. Let me tell you about Jasmine. She wanted to leave her job. She'd wanted to for 3 years. The job drained her, underpaid her, and gave her Sunday night anxiety so bad she'd feel physically ill. But she couldn't decide when to leave, or how to leave, or where to go next. So she stayed for 3 years, analyzing every possibility, making pro-con lists, researching other options, reading career advice, talking to friends, making plans she never executed. She wasn't being careful, she was being paralyzed. Because here's what happens when you overthink decisions. You convince yourself that there's a perfect choice, that if you just think about it long enough, the right answer will become obvious, that you can eliminate all risk through sufficient analysis. But life doesn't work like that. Every choice involves uncertainty. Every path has trade-offs, and no amount of thinking eliminates the risk of being wrong. The irony? Jasmine's refusal to make an imperfect choice was itself a choice to stay miserable, a choice to let fear run her life, a choice to waste 3 years in a job that was killing her soul. When she finally quit, not because she'd figured everything out, but because she simply couldn't take it anymore, she told me, "I spent 3 years trying to make the perfect decision. I should have spent 3 weeks making a good enough decision and 3 years building something new." Analysis paralysis happens when you need to know the outcome before taking action, require certainty before making a move, believe there's a right answer that will reveal itself with enough thinking. Use thinking as a way to avoid the discomfort of action. But clarity doesn't come from thinking. Clarity comes from doing. You can't think your way into a new life. You have to act your way into it, imperfectly, messily, with incomplete information and no guarantees. The inner critic, your mind's favorite character. Now let's talk about the voice in your head. You know the one. The one that narrates your life with a running commentary of criticism, judgment, and fear. "That was so stupid. Why did you say that? Everyone thinks you're an idiot now. You're going to fail. Again. You're too much, too needy, too broken. No one really likes you. They're just being polite." This voice sounds so authoritative, so certain, so true, that you forget it's just your brain's survival mechanism gone haywire. Your inner critic developed as protection. When you were young and vulnerable, it tried to keep you safe by predicting and preventing social rejection. If it criticized you first, maybe others wouldn't. If it kept you small, maybe you wouldn't get hurt. But what protected you at 10 is destroying you at 30. The inner critic isn't giving you valuable feedback, it's replaying old fears on a loop. Most of what it says isn't even original, it's just recycled criticism from people in your past. That voice that says, "You're not good enough," that's probably your mother's anxiety, your father's disappointment, your ex's manipulation, or your childhood bully's cruelty. Internalized. You're walking around with other people's voices in your head, believing they're your thoughts. Here's what you need to understand. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that can observe your thoughts. There's a you beneath the mental chatter, a you that exists before the inner critic starts talking, a you that's whole, worthy, and enough, regardless of what the voice says. Learning to separate yourself from your thoughts is the key to freedom. When you can observe your inner critic without believing it, without identifying with it, without obeying it, you reclaim your power. Rumination versus processing, know the difference. Here's where most people get confused. They think they're processing their emotions when they're actually ruminating. Rumination is thinking about your emotions without actually feeling them. It's analyzing, replaying, and rehearsing. It keeps you stuck in your head, spinning in circles, going nowhere. Processing is feeling your emotions fully, learning from them, and letting them move through you. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You feel worse temporarily than you feel genuinely better. Rumination sounds like, why did this happen to me? What if I had done something different? I should have known better. What's wrong with me? Processing sounds like, this hurt. I'm allowing myself to feel that. What is this pain teaching me? What do I need right now? How do I want to move forward? Rumination is a mental prison. Processing is a pathway through. The key difference? Rumination avoids the feeling. Processing embraces it. When you ruminate, you stay safely in your head where emotions can't fully reach you. You think about being sad instead of being sad. You analyze your anger instead of feeling it. You plan how to fix your anxiety instead of sitting with it. But emotions are meant to be felt, not figured out. They're energy moving through your system, and when you let them move, they pass. When you try to think them away, they get stuck. The practical toolkit, breaking free. So how do you actually stop overthinking? Not through more thinking, through practice. 1. The thought dump. Every morning or night, set a timer for 5 minutes. Write every single thought racing through your head. Don't edit. Don't make it make sense. Just dump it all onto paper. This isn't for solving problems. This is for clearing mental space, like closing background apps on your phone. When the timer goes off, close the notebook. Those thoughts have been acknowledged. They don't need to run on repeat anymore. 2. The pattern interrupt. When you catch yourself spiraling, interrupt the pattern physically. Stand up, move your body, change your environment, splash cold water on your face, do 10 jumping jacks. Your thoughts are connected to your physical state. Change your body, change your thoughts. You can also use a simple phrase, that's just a thought, not a fact. Your mind will try to argue. It will insist the thought is a fact. Don't debate it. Just repeat, that's just a thought, not a fact. 3. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Grounding technique. When anxiety spirals and overthinking takes over, bring yourself back to the present. Name 5 things you can see. Name 4 things you can touch. Name 3 things you can hear. Name 2 things you can smell. Name 1 thing you can taste. This forces your brain out of the future, where anxiety lives, and past, where regret lives, and into the now, where you actually are. 4. The so what challenge. When your mind spirals into worst-case scenarios, challenge it. What if I fail? So what? What would actually happen? What if they don't like me? So what? How would your life actually change? What if I make a mistake? So what? Would it matter in 5 years? Usually it's when you follow the thread to its logical end, you realize the worst-case scenario is survivable. Uncomfortable, yes, but survivable. And if you've survived everything up until now, you'll survive what comes next too. 5. The decision deadline. Stop leaving decisions open-ended. Give yourself a deadline. I will decide about this job by Friday at 5 p.m. I will make a choice about this relationship by the end of the month. Overthinking thrives on unlimited time. When you set a boundary, you force yourself to choose with imperfect information, which is how all real decisions are made anyway. 6. The redirect. Every time you catch yourself overthinking, physically redirect your attention. Call a friend, work out, cook something, create something, do anything that requires your full presence. You're training your brain that overthinking doesn't get to win anymore, that when it starts spiraling, you have other options. The truth about your thoughts. Here's what I need you to understand. Your thoughts are not facts. They're just suggestions your brain is making based on incomplete data and past experiences. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Just because a thought feels urgent doesn't mean it requires immediate attention. Just because your mind is loud doesn't mean it's right. You have permission to question your thoughts, to challenge them, to let them pass without engaging with them. You don't have to believe every thought that crosses your mind. In fact, you shouldn't. Your brain is doing its best to keep you safe using very old programming. It means well. But it's working with outdated information and primitive strategies. You are not required to obey your overthinking mind. You're allowed to gently, firmly tell it, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I've got this." Because you do. You've survived 100% of your hardest days. You've figured out every problem that's ever come your way, not through overthinking, but through action. The solution to overthinking isn't better thinking. It's less thinking and more living. Chapter 3: The Emotional Architecture. Understanding. What's stuck inside you? Your body is keeping score. Every emotion you've ever avoided, suppressed, or powered through is stored somewhere in your system. That tightness in your chest when you think about your ex, that's not anxiety. That's unprocessed grief. That tension in your shoulders that never goes away. That's years of carrying responsibility that wasn't yours. Your emotions aren't just in your head, they're in your body. And until you understand this, you'll keep trying to think your way out of feelings that need to be felt. How emotions get trapped. Here's what happens when something painful occurs. Your nervous system activates. Your body floods with stress hormones. Energy mobilizes to help you fight, flee, or freeze. But in modern life, you rarely get to complete these responses. You can't run away from a toxic boss. You can't physically fight back against emotional manipulation. You can't scream during a breakup conversation in a public coffee shop. So the energy gets stuck, incomplete, unprocessed. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's research in The Body Keeps the Score shows that traumatic memories aren't stored like regular memories. They remain frozen in your nervous system, complete with all the physical sensations from when they first occurred. This is why someone can talk about something that happened 10 years ago and still feel their heart racing, their breath shortening, their stomach dropping. The memory isn't just a memory, it's a live experience still playing in their body. Your body doesn't know the difference between remembering and reliving. Every time you recall a painful experience without processing it, you're reinforcing the neural pathway. You're teaching your nervous system that this threat is still active, that you're still in danger, and your body responds accordingly. Chronic tension, insomnia, digestive issues, anxiety, depression. These aren't separate problems. They're your body trying to tell you, there's something here that needs attention. Guilt versus shame. The weight women carry. Let's talk about the two emotions that destroy more women than any other: guilt and shame. They sound similar, they feel similar, but they're completely different, and understanding the difference is crucial. Guilt says, "I did something wrong." Shame says, "I am something wrong." Guilt is about behavior, shame is about identity. Guilt can be healthy. It tells you when you've violated your own values. It motivates you to make amends, change your behavior, do better. Guilt has an expiration date. Once you've learned the lesson and made it right, it can be released. Shame has no expiration date. Shame lives in your bones. It whispers that you're fundamentally flawed, broken, unworthy of love. Shame doesn't want you to change your behavior. It wants you to believe you're beyond redemption. Women are particularly vulnerable to shame because we're taught from childhood that our worth is conditional. We're too loud or too quiet, too ambitious or not driven enough, too sexual or too prudish, too emotional or too cold. We're raised in a system designed to make us feel like we're always doing womanhood wrong, and shame thrives in this environment. It takes root in the gap between who we are and who we've been told we should be. Shame sounds like, something is fundamentally wrong with me. If people really knew me, they wouldn't love me. I don't deserve good things. I'm damaged goods. The most insidious part? Shame makes you hide. It convinces you that if you share your struggle, people will confirm your worst fear, that you are, in fact, unworthy. But researcher Brené Brown's work proves the opposite. Shame can't survive being spoken. It dies in the light of empathy and connection. The moment you voice your shame to someone who responds with compassion instead of judgment, the spell breaks. You realize you're not uniquely broken, you're humanly flawed, and that's allowed. Anger, your most misunderstood emotion. Society has taught women that anger is ugly, unladylike, something to be ashamed of. So what do women do with their anger? They suppress it. They redirect it inward as self-criticism. They smile through disrespect. They apologize for having boundaries. They cry instead of rage. But anger isn't the enemy. Unexpressed anger is. Anger is information. It tells you when a boundary has been crossed, when you're being treated unfairly, when something important to you is being threatened or dismissed. Anger is the emotion that says, this is not acceptable, this needs to change. The problem isn't feeling anger. The problem is what you've been taught to do with it. Nothing. When you suppress anger chronically, it doesn't disappear, it goes underground. It becomes depression, anger turned inward, passive aggression, anger expressed sideways, physical symptoms, anger stored in the body, sudden explosions, anger that finally breaks through. Women who've spent years being nice and accommodating often describe moments where they snap over something small. The reaction seems disproportionate, but it's not. It's years of unexpressed anger finally finding a crack in the armor. Your anger isn't too much. It's been held back for too long. Healthy anger has a purpose. It protects you. It motivates necessary change. It fuels the courage to leave toxic situations. It gives you the energy to fight for what matters. The key is learning to feel anger without being consumed by it, to use it as fuel instead of letting it become a fire that burns everything down, including you. The nervous system's role. Your nervous system has two main modes: sympathetic, fight, flight, and parasympathetic, rest, digest. When you're carrying emotional baggage, your nervous system stays stuck in sympathetic activation. You're chronically on alert, scanning for threats, expecting danger, unable to fully relax even in safe moments. This is why you can be in a perfectly safe, loving relationship and still feel anxious. Why you can achieve success and still feel like an imposter. Why you can be surrounded by friends and still feel lonely. Your nervous system hasn't gotten the memo that you're safe now. It's still running old programs designed to protect you from dangers that no longer exist. And until you help it update its threat assessment, it will continue treating the present like the past. This is why just let it go doesn't work. Your conscious mind might be ready to move on, but your nervous system is still braced for impact. Real healing requires working with your nervous system, not against it. This means somatic practices, yoga, breathwork, movement that helps discharge stuck energy, nervous system regulation, learning to consciously shift between activation and rest. Safe connection, building relationships where your system can learn that vulnerability doesn't equal danger. Titration, processing emotions in small, manageable doses instead of being overwhelmed. Why just let it go doesn't work. When someone tells you to just let it go, what they're really saying is, your emotions make me uncomfortable. Please stop having them. But emotions don't work like that. You can't think them away. You can't willpower them into disappearing. You can't bypass your way to freedom. The only way out is through. You have to feel it to heal it. This doesn't mean wallowing. It doesn't mean being consumed. It means giving yourself permission to feel the full weight of what you've been carrying and then consciously choosing to put it down. The process looks like this. Acknowledge, this is what I'm feeling. It's real. It's valid. Allow. Let the emotion move through you without resistance. Express. Give it voice through journaling, conversation, movement, sound. Release. Consciously choose to let it go once it's been fully felt. Integrate. Learn the lesson. Extract the wisdom. Move forward changed. This isn't a one-time event, it's a practice. Some emotions need to be processed in layers. You feel one level, integrate it, then discover there's another layer underneath. Somatic release techniques. Your body holds what your mind tries to forget. So real release requires body-based practices, not just mental work. Shaking. Animals instinctively shake after traumatic events to discharge stress. Humans have forgotten how. Try it. Put on music. Let your body shake freely for 5 minutes. It feels strange at first, then it feels freeing. Breath work. Your breath is the bridge between your conscious and unconscious. Slow, deep breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Try 5-count inhale, 5-count exhale for 10 minutes. Movement, dance, run, swim, punch pillows. Move the emotion through your body instead of letting it stagnate. Sound. Sometimes emotions need to be vocalized. Scream into a pillow, hum, tone. Give the feeling a voice, touch, massage. Acupuncture, gentle self-touch. Your body needs to remember that touch can be safe and healing. The goal isn't to make the emotions disappear. The goal is to complete the cycle that was interrupted when the original event occurred. Your body has been waiting, sometimes for years, to finish what it started. When you give it permission, it knows exactly what to do. Chapter 4. Letting Go in Love, the Hardest Release. Love is supposed to set you free. So why does it so often feel like chains? Because most of what we call love isn't love at all. It's need disguised as devotion, attachment masqueraded as connection, fear of being alone dressed up as romance. Real love liberates, everything else imprisons. And until you learn the difference, you'll keep giving your heart to people who don't deserve it, staying in situations that drain you, and wondering why love always seems to hurt. Love versus need versus attachment, the critical distinctions. Let's get clear on what these actually are. Need says, I can't survive without you. You complete me. I'm not whole unless you're here. Need is desperation. It's the feeling that someone else holds the missing piece of you. That your happiness depends on their presence. That losing them would destroy you. Need creates codependency. It makes you tolerate disrespect because you're terrified of being alone. It makes you shrink yourself to keep someone close. It makes you ignore red flags because you've decided this person is your only chance at happiness. Attachment says, I'm emotionally dependent on you behaving a certain way. When you don't, I fall apart. Attachment is control disguised as caring. It's needing someone to text back immediately or your anxiety spikes. It's monitoring their social media to make sure they're not moving on. It's staying angry about something from 3 years ago because letting go feels like losing power. Attachment creates anxiety. You're constantly scanning for signs of abandonment. You're hypervigilant about their mood changes. You interpret their need for space as rejection. You can't relax into the relationship because you're always braced for it to end. Love says, I choose you. I want you to be happy. Even if your happiness doesn't include me, I support your growth even when that growth changes our dynamic. Love is freedom. It's wanting the best for someone without needing to control what that looks like. It's being able to hold space for their journey while honoring your own. It's knowing that if they leave, you'll grieve deeply and you'll survive. Love creates peace. You're not trying to possess them. You're choosing to share a journey with them. You can be deeply connected without being enmeshed. You can care profoundly without making their emotions your responsibility. Need feels urgent. Attachment feels anxious. Love feels peaceful. When you're in need or attachment, the thought of them leaving sends you into panic. When you're in love, the thought of them leaving brings sadness, but not devastation, because you know your worth isn't determined by whether they stay. The ex you can't release. And why? Everyone has one. The ex who lives in their head years after the relationship ended. The one they compare everyone to. The one they secretly hope will come back, even though they know it would be a disaster. Why is this one so hard to release? Usually it's not about the actual person. It's about what they represent. Maybe they were your first love, the first time you felt chosen, the first time you felt alive. Losing them feels like losing that version of yourself, the one who was young, hopeful, unguarded. Maybe they were the one that got away, not because they were perfect, but because the relationship never got closure. It ended abruptly, or ambiguously, or with potential unfulfilled. Your brain hates incomplete stories, so it keeps the file open, hoping for an ending. Maybe they're the one you gave the most to. You invested years, you compromised yourself, you built a life around them. Letting go feels like admitting all that investment was wasted, so you hold on, hoping the sunk cost will eventually pay off. But here's the truth. You're not holding on to them. You're holding on to who you were when you were with them, or who you thought you'd become if they had chosen you differently. The version of you that felt desired, hopeful, worthy, young, possible. And releasing them means accepting that you can never go back to being that person, because you're not that person anymore. You've grown, you've changed, you've been hurt and healed and hurt again. The ex you can't release is a ghost, not a real person with flaws and limitations, but a fantasy version who exists only in your selective memory. You remember the best moments and forget the everyday reality. You romanticize what could have been and ignore what actually was. Letting go doesn't mean they didn't matter. It means accepting that what you're holding on to never really existed. When to walk away. This is the question that haunts every woman in a difficult relationship. Am I giving up too soon, or am I staying too long? You're afraid of being a quitter, of not trying hard enough, of abandoning something that could have worked if you'd just been more patient, more understanding, more flexible. But here's what you need to understand. Staying in the wrong relationship doesn't make you loyal. It makes you unavailable for the right one. You can't walk through the door that's meant for you if you're still standing in the doorway of something that's already over. So when do you walk away? When you've communicated your needs clearly and they've been consistently ignored, not once, not in a bad moment, consistently, over time, after multiple conversations. If someone shows you repeatedly that they can't or won't meet your basic needs, believe them when you're doing all the emotional labor. if you're the only one initiating difficult conversations, suggesting solutions, working on growth, fighting for the relationship, you're not in a partnership. You're in a project. And people aren't projects. When you feel smaller, not bigger, healthy relationships expand you. They make you feel more capable, more creative, more alive. If you find yourself dimming your light, hiding your success, or shrinking your personality to make someone comfortable, leave. When your body is screaming what your mind won't admit, insomnia, digestive issues, chronic tension, anxiety attacks, your body knows before your mind accepts it. Listen to it. When you're staying out of fear, not love, fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of proving everyone who doubted you right, these are not reasons to stay. They're reasons you'll resent both yourself and them eventually. When you're explaining away abuse, emotional manipulation isn't love under stress. Controlling behavior isn't care. Verbal cruelty isn't passion. If you're constantly making excuses for how they treat you, you already know something is deeply wrong. Walking away doesn't mean you failed. It means you finally loved yourself enough to stop betraying your own needs. Releasing toxic people without guilt. Not all toxic relationships are romantic. Sometimes the person you need to release is a friend, a family member, someone who's been in your life so long that letting go feels like betrayal. But here's what loyalty doesn't mean: accepting mistreatment because someone has known you a long time, tolerating disrespect because that's just how they are, sacrificing your peace to keep the peace. Loyalty to others should never require disloyalty to yourself. You know someone is toxic when every interaction leaves you drained, not energized. They only call when they need something. They dismiss your feelings, but expect you to manage theirs. They compete with you instead of celebrating you. They violate your boundaries repeatedly after being told. They make you feel guilty for having needs. Releasing toxic people doesn't require drama. You don't need a big confrontation. You don't owe them a detailed explanation of why you're stepping back. You can love people and still choose distance. You can wish them well and still protect your peace. Sometimes releasing looks like gradually decreasing contact. Sometimes it's a clean break. Sometimes it's maintaining surface-level connection while emotionally detaching. The guilt will try to keep you trapped. It will say, "But they need you." "But you've been friends for so long, but they're family. But what will people think?" Counter that guilt with truth. I'm allowed to outgrow relationships. I'm allowed to prioritize my well-being. I'm allowed to say no without explanation. My peace matters more than their comfort. Closure is a gift you give yourself. You're waiting for closure, for them to finally explain why they did what they did, to apologize, to acknowledge the pain they caused, to give you the ending that makes sense. Stop waiting. That closure isn't coming, and even if it did, it wouldn't feel how you imagine. Their apology wouldn't erase the hurt. Their explanation wouldn't make it make sense. Their regret wouldn't give you back the time you lost. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you give yourself. Closure is deciding you're done trying to understand the incomprehensible, done waiting for people to become who they should have been, done giving them power over your peace. Closure is accepting that some things will never make sense. Some people will never apologize. Some questions will never be answered. And you can move forward anyway. You close the chapter yourself. You write the end, even though the story feels unfinished. You accept that this is as resolved as it's going to get. You don't need their permission to move on. You never did. Loving without losing yourself. The ultimate skill in love is maintaining yourself while being fully connected to someone else. This means having your own interests, friends, goals outside the relationship, keeping your boundaries even when they're inconvenient, saying no when something doesn't feel right, taking space when you need it without guilt, supporting their dreams while pursuing your own, being able to disagree without fearing abandonment. Too many women merge completely with their partners. They adopt his friend group, his hobbies, his life goals, and slowly they disappear. Then when the relationship ends, they don't just lose him, they lose themselves because they built their entire identity around being his person. Don't make someone your whole world. Make them part of a world you've built for yourself. The strongest relationships are between two whole people who choose to share a life, not two half people trying to make one whole life. You should be able to answer, "Who am I?" without mentioning them. If you can't, you've lost yourself, and it's time to find your way back. Chapter 5. Releasing Control. The illusion that's destroying your peace. Control is the most seductive illusion your mind has ever sold you. It whispers, if you just plan enough, prepare enough, anticipate enough, you can prevent pain. You can guarantee outcomes. You can make life safe. So you try. You micromanage relationships, obsess over details, replay scenarios in your head, attempt to predict every variable. You exhaust yourself trying to control what was never yours to control in the first place. And somehow, despite all your effort, life still surprises you. People still disappoint you. Things still fall apart. Because control was always an illusion, and the tighter you grip, the more you suffer. Why control is a trauma response. Here's what no one tells you. Your need to control everything isn't a personality trait. It's a trauma response. Something happened, maybe once, maybe repeatedly, where you felt completely powerless. Maybe you were blindsided by betrayal. Maybe you experienced loss you couldn't prevent. Maybe your childhood was chaos and uncertainty, and your brain made a decision. Never again. If I can control enough variables, I'll never feel that powerless again. So you became the planner, the overthinker, the one who needs to know every detail before making a decision, the one who can't delegate because if you want it done right, do it yourself, the one who stays 3 steps ahead of everyone, anticipating problems before they arise. It feels like strength, like responsibility, like being smart and prepared. But it's actually fear wearing a productivity mask. You're not being strategic, you're being scared. Scared of the chaos you once experienced, scared of being caught off guard, scared of the powerlessness you swore you'd never feel again. And the exhausting irony, all this controlling behavior doesn't make you safer. It makes you more anxious because the more you try to control, the more aware you become of everything you can't control. Perfectionism as emotional prison. Perfectionism and control are twins. Both are desperate attempts to eliminate vulnerability. Perfectionism says, if I can be flawless, I'll be beyond criticism, beyond rejection, beyond failure. So you set impossible standards. You work until you're burned out. You redo things that were already good enough. You can't start projects unless you're certain they'll be perfect. You can't finish projects because they're never quite there yet. You're not aiming for excellence. You're trying to eliminate the possibility of being hurt. Because if you're perfect, no one can reject you. If you're perfect, you won't fail. If you're perfect, you'll finally be worthy of love. Except perfectionism doesn't work like that. It doesn't make you invulnerable. It makes you isolated. Because perfection isn't human. And when you're performing perfection, no one can actually connect with you. Real connection requires imperfection, vulnerability, the willingness to be seen in your mess and loved anyway. But perfectionism won't let you have that. It keeps you performing, proving, pretending. And underneath all of it, you're terrified that if people saw the real you, flawed, uncertain, struggling, they'd leave. So you control your image instead of living your life. The outcomes you can't control, and the one thing you can. Let's get brutally honest about what you actually control. You don't control whether people choose you, how people treat you, what opportunities arise, when things happen, other people's opinions, reactions, or decisions, the economy, the weather, or global events, whether your efforts succeed, how long you live, or who you lose. That's a lot of things outside your control, and trying to control them is what's making you miserable. Here's what you do control: your responses, your choices, your boundaries, your effort, your integrity. That's it. That's your domain, and it's enough. You can't control whether someone loves you back, but you can control whether you stay with someone who doesn't. You can't control whether you get the job, but you can control the quality of work you submit. You can't control how people perceive you, but you can control whether you live in alignment with your values. When you focus on what you can control and release what you can't, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on outcomes that were never yours to determine. You redirect that energy toward the actions and choices that actually matter. You trade exhaustion for empowerment, strategic surrender versus giving up. Now, when I say release control, I don't mean become passive. I don't mean stop trying. I don't mean accept whatever life throws at you without response. There's a massive difference between strategic surrender and giving up. Giving up is passive. It's defeated. It's nothing matters, so why try? Strategic surrender is active. It's empowered. It's, I've done everything in my power. Now I trust the process. Strategic surrender looks like doing your absolute best, then detaching from the outcome. Making a decision with the information you have, not waiting for perfect certainty, taking action despite not knowing how it will turn out. Setting boundaries and letting people respond however they respond. Loving fully while accepting you can't control whether it's returned. Surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that some things are outside your control, and obsessing over them only robs you of peace. It's choosing to put your energy where it can actually make a difference. Think of it like this. You're a gardener. You can plant seeds, water them, provide good soil, remove weeds, but you can't control the weather. You can't force the seed to grow faster. You can't guarantee the harvest. Your job is to tend the garden, not to control nature. When you understand this, you stop fighting reality. You work with it. You do what's yours to do, then release what isn't. Embracing uncertainty and flow. Uncertainty is the natural state of life. The future is fundamentally unknowable. Variables are infinite, outcomes are unpredictable, and your need for certainty is what's torturing you. Because you can't make decisions until you're sure. You can't take risks until you've eliminated all possibility of failure. You can't commit until you know it's guaranteed to work out. But nothing is guaranteed. Ever. The job you're certain about could end tomorrow. The relationship you're sure will last could fall apart next month. The plan you've perfected could become irrelevant by next year. Life is uncertain, and no amount of controlling behavior changes that. But here's what's beautiful. When you stop demanding certainty, you start experiencing flow. Flow is what happens when you align with life instead of fighting it. When you take action without needing to know the ending. When you make choices based on what feels right now, not what you can guarantee for later. Flow feels like ease, even in difficulty, like trust, even in uncertainty, like momentum, even when you can't see the full path ahead. You're not controlling, you're dancing, responding, adapting, moving with what is instead of forcing what you wish it was. Trust versus naivety. But if I let go of control, won't I just get hurt again? Isn't trust just setting myself up for disappointment? No, because trust and naivety are different things. Naivety ignores red flags. Trust honors them. Naivety says everyone deserves infinite chances. Trust says people's patterns show you who they are. Believe them. Naivety hopes people will change without evidence. Trust requires consistency before investing deeply. Trust isn't blind, it's informed. You trust based on track record, on aligned actions and words, on demonstrated integrity over time, on someone proving they're worthy of your trust through their behavior, not their promises. And here's the key: trust isn't all or nothing. You can trust someone in one area while being appropriately cautious in another. You can trust your friend with emotional support, but not with punctuality. You can trust your partner with your heart, but not with financial decisions. You can trust someone's intentions while recognizing their limitations. Calibrated trust is wisdom. Blanket trust is foolishness. Letting go of control doesn't mean trusting everyone with everything. It means assessing who's earned what level of trust and accepting that even with the most trustworthy people, outcomes aren't guaranteed. The practice: releasing control. Daily, releasing control isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Here's how. Morning question: what am I trying to control today that isn't actually mine to control? Write it down. Consciously choose to redirect that energy. When you feel the grip tightening, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, take appropriate action, then release the outcome. If no, redirect your attention to what is in your control. Practice micro surrenders. Order something new at a restaurant without researching it first. Let someone else plan the outing. Send the email without rereading it 5 times. Take small risks where the stakes are low. Build your tolerance for uncertainty. Catch yourself shooting. This should have worked. They should have known better. It shouldn't be this hard. Every should is a refusal to accept reality as it is. Replace it with, this is what's happening. How do I respond? End of day reflection. What did I control today? What did I release? How did it feel? The goal isn't to become careless or irresponsible. The goal is to become free from the exhaustion of trying to manage the unmanageable, free from the anxiety of demanding certainty in an uncertain world, free from the prison of perfectionism. You do your part, you show up fully, you make conscious choices, you act with integrity, then you release the outcome. You trust that you're capable of handling whatever comes. You accept that some things will work out differently than you planned, and that's okay. Control is a cage you've been living in, believing it's keeping you safe. But the door was never locked. You can walk out anytime. Chapter 6. The Identity Shift. Who are you without the pain? You've been defining yourself by what happened to you for so long that you've forgotten who you are without it. I'm someone who was cheated on. I'm someone who always struggles with money. I'm someone who can't trust people. I'm someone who always gets hurt. These aren't facts, they're stories. Stories you've told yourself so many times that they've calcified into identity. And now they're running your life from the shadows, determining what you believe is possible for you. But here's the truth. You are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. And until you understand this, you'll keep recreating the same patterns, attracting the same situations, and wondering why nothing ever changes. Identity attachments, the chains you can't see. Most people don't realize they're attached to their pain. They think they want to be free of it, but subconsciously, their identity is built around it. Think about it. If you've been the heartbroken one for 5 years, who are you when you're healed? If you've been the struggling one for a decade, who are you when things are working? If you've been the victim of your circumstances for your entire adult life, who are you when you take full responsibility? Letting go of pain means letting go of an identity, and that's terrifying. Because even though that identity is limiting, it's familiar, it's known, it comes with a certain kind of social currency. People feel sorry for you, go easier on you, don't expect too much from you. Your pain becomes your excuse, your safety net. Your explanation for why you haven't achieved what you wanted, haven't healed, haven't moved forward. I can't trust anyone because I was betrayed. I can't pursue my dreams because I failed before. I can't open my heart because people always leave. These statements sound like explanations, but they're actually decisions. Decisions to let your past dictate your future. Decisions to stay safe in the familiar suffering rather than risk the unknown possibility. Your trauma gave you an identity, but that identity is a cage. Victim versus creator consciousness. There are two fundamental orientations to life: victim consciousness and creator consciousness. Victim consciousness asks, why is this happening to me? Who's to blame? Why is life so unfair? It sees you as powerless, at the mercy of circumstances, other people, bad luck, your past. It focuses on what was done to you and uses that as justification for why you can't create what you want. Victim consciousness isn't about whether bad things happened, they did. It's about whether you're using those bad things as a permanent identity or as information for growth. Creator consciousness asks, what can I create from here? What's within my control? How do I want to respond? It sees you as powerful, not immune to difficulty, but capable of shaping your response. It acknowledges what happened while refusing to be defined by it. It uses the past as fuel, not as a prison. Creator consciousness doesn't deny pain, it transforms it. It says, yes, that happened. Yes, it was hard, and I'm going to use it to become stronger, wiser, more compassionate. Victims wait for life to happen to them. Creators happen to life. The shift from victim to creator isn't about blame. You're not responsible for what was done to you, but you are responsible for what you do with it now. You can't change the past. You can only decide whether it controls your future. Releasing the stories that define you. Your brain loves stories. It creates narratives to make sense of experiences. The problem is, the stories you created years ago, often in pain, fear, or confusion, are still running the show. I'm not good with money is a story, usually based on 1 or 2 experiences of financial struggle, now generalized into permanent truth. I always choose the wrong people is a story, based on past relationships, now used as prophecy for future ones. I'm too broken to be loved is a story, based on how you felt in your worst moments, now accepted as fundamental fact. But stories can be rewritten. The first step is recognizing them as stories, not truth. Ask yourself, what story am I telling about myself that limits me? Where did this story come from? What evidence do I have that contradicts it? What would be possible if this story wasn't true? Let's take I always choose the wrong people. Where did that come from? Probably from choosing poorly in the past, when you were younger, less aware, operating from wounds you didn't understand yet. But is it still true? Or have you actually grown? Do you now recognize red flags you once ignored? Do you now have boundaries you once lacked? Are you now attracted to different qualities than you were 5 years ago? The story is outdated, but you're still living by it. When you update the story, everything changes. I used to choose poorly because I didn't know better. Now I'm learning to choose from wisdom, not wounds. Same past, different meaning, different future. Your past doesn't determine your future. This is the lie that keeps people stuck. Because this happened before, it will happen again. You were hurt, so you'll be hurt again. You failed, so you'll fail again. You were abandoned, so everyone will abandon you. But that's not how life works. That's how trauma works. Trauma creates a filter. It makes you see the present through the lens of the past. It makes you interpret neutral events as threats. It makes you brace for impact even when there's no danger. But the present is not the past. The people in your life now are not the people who hurt you then. The opportunities in front of you are not the failures behind you. The version of you that exists today is not the version that got hurt years ago. You are not who you were at your lowest moment. You've grown. You've learned. You've developed skills, awareness, and resilience you didn't have back then. You're not the same person stepping into the same situation. But if you keep telling yourself the story that your past predicts your future, you'll create self-fulfilling prophecies. You'll see threats where none exist. You'll sabotage opportunities before they can fail naturally. You'll reject people before they can reject you. Your past is data, it's information, it's lessons learned, but it's not destiny. The future is unwritten, and you're holding the pen. Post-traumatic growth, the upside of pain. Here's what the self-help industry doesn't tell you enough. Pain can break you, but it can also make you. Post-traumatic growth is real. Research shows that people who experience significant challenges often develop capacities they wouldn't have otherwise. Deeper empathy and compassion, greater resilience and adaptability, clearer values and priorities, stronger sense of personal strength, more authentic relationships, heightened appreciation for life. You don't become strong by avoiding difficulty. You become strong by surviving it. You don't develop wisdom by living perfectly. You develop it by making mistakes and learning from them. The same experience that wounded you can be the source of your greatest power, but only if you choose to use it that way. Only if you refuse to stay stuck in this terrible thing happened to me and move toward this terrible thing happened, and here's what I learned. This isn't toxic positivity. You don't have to be grateful for trauma. You don't have to pretend it was meant to be or a blessing in disguise, but you can refuse to let it be the only thing it is. You can extract the growth while releasing the grip, becoming the author of your life. For too long, you've been a character in someone else's story. The story your parents wrote, the story your ex wrote, the story society wrote about who you should be and what your life should look like. It's time to become the author. Authors make choices. They decide where the plot goes next. They determine which characters stay and which ones exit. They choose the genre. Is this a tragedy or a comeback story? A romance or a journey of self-discovery? You have that power. You've always had it. You just forgot. Becoming the author means deciding what this chapter is about. What are you focused on? What are you building? What matters most right now? Choosing your cast carefully. Who gets a major role in your life? Who gets a cameo? Who gets written out entirely? Determining the themes. What values guide your decisions? What kind of person are you becoming through this story? Rewriting the narrative when needed. When the plot isn't working, you change it. You don't keep forcing a story that isn't serving you, accepting that you can't control how others read your story. Some people will misunderstand, some will judge, some will wish you'd stayed the character they knew. Let them. Your story isn't for them. The practice, stepping into your new identity, releasing old identity, and stepping into new identity requires practice. Daily intentional practice. Morning affirmation. I am not who I was. I am who I'm becoming. Catch old identity thoughts. When you hear yourself say, I'm someone who always, or I never, pause. Ask, is this still true, or is this an old story? Act from your new identity. Don't wait until you feel like the new you. Act as the new you. How would the healed version of you handle this situation? What would the empowered you choose? Do that. Surround yourself with people who see your potential, not just your past. The people who keep reminding you of who you were will make it harder to become who you're meant to be. Celebrate evidence of change. When you respond differently than you would have a year ago, acknowledge it. Old me would have stayed, new me walked away. That's growth. Give yourself permission to outgrow your old identity. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to be different than you were. You're allowed to surprise people, including yourself. The woman you're becoming isn't waiting for permission. She's not waiting for perfect circumstances. She's not waiting to feel ready. She's deciding right now that the past doesn't own her future. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are not the pain that was inflicted on you or the losses you've endured. You are the one who survived it all, the one who's still here, the one who gets to decide what comes next. That's your power, and no one can take it from you unless you let them. Chapter 7. The Letting Go Toolkit. Practical Techniques for Emotional Release. You understand the psychology now. You know why you hold on. You recognize the patterns. You've identified the stories. But understanding doesn't equal transformation. Knowledge without practice is just interesting information. This chapter is where the real work begins. These are the tools that actually create change, not theory, not philosophy. Practical techniques you can use today to begin releasing what you've been carrying. Some will resonate immediately, others will feel uncomfortable at first. Try them anyway. Your resistance is often pointing to exactly what you need most. The unsent letter technique. This is one of the most powerful tools for emotional release, and it's simple. Write a letter you'll never send. Here's how. Get paper and pen. Not your phone, not your laptop. Actual writing activates different parts of your brain and creates deeper processing. Address the letter to whoever you need to release. An ex, a parent, a friend, yourself, even a younger version of you. Write everything you've never said. The hurt, the anger, the disappointment, the questions that were never answered, the things you wish you'd said when you had the chance. Don't edit. Don't make it kind. Don't worry about being fair. This isn't about them. This is about getting the poison out of your system. Write until there's nothing left, until your hand cramps, until you've emptied every emotion that's been sitting in your chest for months or years. When you're done, read it aloud to yourself. Let yourself hear the words you've been holding inside. Then destroy it. Burn it. tear it up, bury it. The act of destroying the letter is symbolic. You're releasing what you wrote. You're letting it go physically, emotionally, spiritually. You don't need to send it to get closure. You don't need them to read it for it to matter. The healing is in the writing and the releasing, not in their response. Journaling for release, not just gratitude. Most people think journaling is about gratitude lists and positive affirmations. That has its place, but real emotional release requires going deeper. The daily dump. Every morning or night, set a timer for 10 minutes. Write everything in your head, anxieties, resentments, fears, frustrations. Don't organize it. Don't make it pretty. Just dump it all onto the page. This clears mental clutter. It gets the repetitive thoughts out of your system so they stop running on loop. The feeling inventory. Once a week, answer these questions. What am I feeling right now that I haven't acknowledged? What am I avoiding feeling? What do I need that I'm not asking for? What boundary do I need to set? The pattern recognition journal. When you notice yourself repeating a pattern, attracting the same type of person, making the same mistake, feeling the same emotion in different situations, write. When did this pattern start? What was I trying to protect myself from? How is this pattern serving me now? What would change if I released it? The future self. Letter. Write a letter from your future self, the version of you who's fully healed, who's let go, who's living freely. What does she want to tell present you? What wisdom does she have? What does she wish you knew? This creates a vision that pulls you forward instead of letting the past drag you backward. Breath work for nervous system regulation. Your breath is the fastest, most accessible tool for shifting your nervous system state. When you're triggered, anxious, or stuck in emotional patterns, conscious breathing can create immediate change. Box breathing for immediate calm. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Repeat for 5 minutes. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest mode. It tells your body the threat has passed and it's safe to relax. Extended. Exhale for releasing anxiety. Inhale for 4 counts. Exhale for 8 counts. Repeat for 10 minutes. The extended exhale signals safety to your nervous system. It's physically impossible to be in full panic mode while breathing this way. Emotional release. Breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it briefly. Exhale forcefully through your mouth with a sound, a sigh, a groan, whatever wants to come out. Repeat until you feel a shift. This helps discharge stuck emotional energy. Your body wants to release. You just have to give it permission. Physical rituals and ceremonies. Your logical brain might dismiss ritual as unnecessary, but your nervous system speaks in symbols. Ritual creates the psychological closure that words alone can't. The burning ceremony. Write what you're releasing on paper. Names, beliefs, patterns, pain. Read it aloud, then burn it safely in a fireplace over a candle in a fire pit. Watch it turn to ash. Say out loud, I release this. It no longer has power over me. The water release. Write what you're letting go of on biodegradable paper. Go to a body of water, ocean, river, lake. Speak your intention to release. Place the paper in the water and watch it dissolve or float away. The burial. Write what you're releasing. Bury it in the earth. Plant something on top of it. Flowers, a tree, something that represents new growth. You're literally transforming old pain into new life. The physical purge. Sometimes you need to move the emotion through your body. Put on music. Dance aggressively, punch pillows, scream in your car, let your body discharge what your mind has been holding. These rituals might feel silly. Do them anyway. Your subconscious understands symbolism better than logic. Cognitive reframing practices. Your thoughts create your emotional reality. Change the thought, change the feeling. But reframing isn't about toxic positivity, it's about accuracy. The evidence challenge. When you have a limiting belief, I always fail, no one stays, I'm not enough, challenge it with evidence. Is this actually always true, or am I generalizing from limited data? What evidence contradicts this belief? Would I accept this standard of proof in any other area of my life? The compassionate reframe. When your inner critic attacks, respond like you would to a friend. Inner critic, you're so stupid for trusting him. Compassionate reframe. You trusted because you're capable of love. That's not stupid. That's brave. He's the one who broke trust. The meaning shift. Every experience has multiple possible meanings. You get to choose which one you assign. He left me can mean I'm unlovable, or we weren't compatible, and now I'm free to find someone who is. I failed can mean I'm a failure, or I learned what doesn't work and I'm wiser now. Same event, different meaning, different future. The what if. Flip. Your brain loves catastrophic what ifs. Flip them. Instead of what if I fail, ask, what if I succeed beyond my expectations? Instead of what if they hurt me, ask, what if this is exactly what I've been waiting for? Your brain will generate evidence for whatever question you ask it. Ask better questions. Building emotional resilience. Daily, letting go isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice of choosing freedom over familiar pain. Morning practice, 5 minutes, 3 deep breaths. Set an intention. Today, I choose peace over being right. Or, today, I release what I can't control. Visualize yourself moving through the day with emotional freedom. Throughout the day, notice when you're gripping, controlling, ruminating, people-pleasing. Pause, breathe, ask, what am I trying to control right now that isn't mine? Consciously release it. Evening practice, 10 minutes. Journal. What did I let go of today? What am I still holding on to? What emotion needs attention before sleep? 3 things I'm releasing before tomorrow. Weekly check-in. Am I repeating old patterns or creating new ones? What boundary do I need to reinforce? Where am I still betraying myself to keep others comfortable? Warning signs. You're slipping back. Healing isn't linear. You'll have setbacks. The key is catching them early. You know you're slipping when you're stalking their social media again. You're rehashing old arguments in your head. You're explaining away red flags in new situations. You're isolating from people who support your growth. You're fantasizing about reconciliation with people who hurt you. You're using substances or distractions to avoid feelings. You're tolerating disrespect. You once had boundaries around. When you notice these signs, don't shame yourself. Shame keeps you stuck. Instead, get curious. What triggered this? What do I need right now that I'm not giving myself? Then return to the practices, the letter, the breath work, the journaling, the rituals. Healing is a spiral, not a straight line. You'll revisit old wounds at deeper levels. That doesn't mean you've regressed. It means you're ready to release another layer. The most important tool, self-compassion. None of these techniques work without this foundation, treating yourself with compassion instead of criticism. You're not broken for struggling to let go. You're human. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you from perceived threats, even when those protective mechanisms no longer serve you. Be as patient with yourself as you would be with someone you love. You wouldn't tell a friend, just get over it already. You'd sit with them. You'd validate their pain. You'd remind them they're doing their best. Give yourself that same grace. Letting go is hard. It's brave. It's an active choice you make repeatedly, not a switch you flip once. Every time you choose to release instead of grip, you're winning, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when you have to make the same choice again tomorrow. You're building new neural pathways. You're teaching your nervous system that safety doesn't come from control, it comes from trust. You're proving to yourself that you can survive without the weight you've been carrying, and that's freedom. Chapter 8. Living Free. The Daily Practice of Emotional Mastery. You've done the work. You've identified the patterns. You've released what was holding you back. You've rewritten the stories. You've practiced the techniques. Now comes the real question. How do you stay free? Because here's what most people don't tell you about healing. It's not a destination. It's not something you achieve once and then coast on forever. Freedom is a daily practice, a choice you make over and over again. The old patterns will try to creep back in. Your nervous system will default to familiar responses under stress. People will test your boundaries. Life will present new challenges that trigger old wounds. But you're different now. You know how to choose differently. This chapter is about integration, about taking everything you've learned and weaving it into the fabric of your daily life, about becoming someone who lives in freedom, not someone who occasionally visits it. From victim to creator, owning your power. Every morning you wake up and face a choice. Will you be at the mercy of your circumstances, or will you be the author of your response? Victim energy says, why does this always happen to me? I can't because external circumstance. If only they would change, then I could be happy. Life is happening to me. Creator energy says, what can I create from this situation? What's within my control right now? I'm responsible for my response regardless of what they do. I am happening to life. The shift from victim to creator isn't about denying difficulty. It's about reclaiming agency in how you engage with difficulty. You can't control what happened in your past. You can't control what people do to you. You can't control the randomness of life's challenges, but you can control who you become in response to all of it. That's your power, and no one can take it from you. Living free means waking up every day and asking, what version of myself am I choosing to be today? Not waiting for circumstances to be perfect, not waiting for other people to change, not waiting to feel ready. Choosing now from where you are. Maintaining boundaries long term. Setting boundaries once is hard. Maintaining them consistently, that's mastery. Because people will test them. Not always maliciously, sometimes unconsciously. They got used to the old you, the one who said yes to everything, who tolerated disrespect, who put everyone else first. When you change, it disrupts their equilibrium, and they'll push back. This is where most people cave. The guilt becomes too much. The fear of conflict overwhelms them. They convince themselves that maybe their boundary was too harsh, too selfish, too much. Don't. Your boundaries aren't negotiable. They're not suggestions. They're the terms under which you engage with the world. When someone pushes against a boundary, you don't need to explain it again. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to convince them it's reasonable. You just hold it. I've already explained my boundary. It hasn't changed. I understand you're disappointed, but my answer is still no. this isn't up for debate. This is what works for me. The people who genuinely care about you will respect your boundaries, even if they don't fully understand them. The people who don't, they're showing you exactly why the boundary was necessary. The daily freedom practice. Living free requires daily maintenance, not because you're broken, but because you're human, and humans need reminders, rituals, practices that keep them aligned. Morning anchor, 5 minutes. Before you check your phone, before you engage with the world, check in with yourself. How do I feel in my body right now? What am I carrying that isn't mine? What's one thing I'm releasing today? What's my intention for how I show up today? This sets the tone. You're starting from center, from choice, from consciousness, not from reaction. Midday check-in, 2 minutes. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, am I living in alignment right now, or am I performing? Have I compromised any boundaries today? Am I holding on to something I need to release? What do I need right now that I'm not giving myself? This prevents you from sleepwalking through your day, defaulting to old patterns without realizing it. Evening release, 10 minutes. Before bed, consciously let go of the day. What happened today that I'm still carrying? What conversation am I replaying that I need to release? What am I worried about that I can't control? Write it down, speak it aloud, or visualize placing it down. Don't carry today into tomorrow. Each day gets a fresh start. Weekly audit, 30 minutes. Once a week, get honest with yourself. Where did I honor myself this week? Where did I betray myself? What patterns am I repeating? What boundary needs reinforcement? What am I tolerating that I shouldn't be? This keeps you accountable to yourself, not to old patterns. Protecting your peace in a chaotic world. The world will always be chaotic. People will always be unpredictable. Life will always throw curveballs. Your peace can't depend on external stability. It has to come from internal mastery. Protecting your peace means curating your inputs. You can't control the world, but you can control what you consume. Limit news that spirals you into anxiety. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison. Stop engaging in conversations that drain you. Choosing your battles. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment needs a response. Not every conflict needs to be resolved. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing, creating sacred spaces. Designate times, places, or activities that are non-negotiable for your well-being. A morning routine no one interrupts. A weekly practice that's just for you. Spaces where you're not performing for anyone. Saying no without explanation. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you're declining. Protect your energy unapologetically, removing yourself from toxicity. You don't have to stay in conversations, situations, or relationships that deplete you. You can leave, you can hang up, you can walk away. Your peace is more important than their comfort. When forgiveness feels impossible, and why it's optional, let's address the elephant in the room. You don't have to forgive everyone. The self-help industry has sold you a lie that forgiveness is required for healing, that you can't move on until you've forgiven. That withholding forgiveness makes you bitter. This is spiritual bypassing disguised as wisdom. Forgiveness is beautiful when it happens naturally. When someone has genuinely apologized, made amends, and demonstrated change. When you've processed your pain and reached a place where you no longer need them to suffer for what they did. But premature forgiveness, forced forgiveness, that's abandoning yourself. Some things are unforgivable. Some people don't deserve your forgiveness. And that's okay. You can let go without forgiving. Letting go means releasing their power over your present. It means choosing not to carry the weight of what they did. It means accepting what happened and moving forward anyway. Forgiveness means releasing them from the debt you believe they owe you. It's optional. It's not a requirement for your freedom. You can heal completely without ever forgiving the person who hurt you. Your healing belongs to you. It doesn't require their participation, their apology, their growth, or your forgiveness of them. What matters is that you've processed the pain, learned the lessons, reclaimed your power, and decided they no longer get to dictate your future. That's freedom, and it has nothing to do with forgiveness. Attracting aligned people after healing. When you heal, your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, you stop attracting the same people. The emotionally unavailable men who once felt like a challenge, suddenly boring. The friends who only called when they needed something, suddenly exhausting. The dynamics that felt like passion because they were chaotic, suddenly recognizable as toxicity. You'll outgrow people. And that's not betrayal. That's growth. As you heal, you'll attract different people. People who match your emotional availability, respect your boundaries without testing them, celebrate your growth instead of feeling threatened by it, show up consistently, not just when it's convenient, communicate directly instead of playing games, add to your peace instead of disturbing it. These relationships will feel different, calmer, steadier, less dramatic. And if you're used to chaos, this might feel boring at first. That's your nervous system mistaking peace for lack of chemistry. Real healthy love doesn't feel like an emotional roller coaster. It feels like coming home. It feels like safety, like you can finally exhale. Give yourself time to adjust to what healthy actually feels like. Don't sabotage it because it doesn't match the intensity you're used to. The right people won't make you question your worth. They'll remind you of it. Your new normal, life after letting go. Life after letting go doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It doesn't mean you'll never feel pain. It doesn't mean you're immune to disappointment, loss, or heartbreak. It means you know how to move through it without being destroyed by it. You'll still have hard days, days when old grief resurfaces, days when you're triggered, days when you want to slip back into old patterns because they're familiar. The difference is you'll catch yourself faster. You'll recognize the spiral before you're fully in it. You'll have tools to regulate yourself. You'll know the difference between processing and ruminating. You'll cry when you need to. You'll rage when it's warranted. You'll feel the full spectrum of human emotion without being consumed by any of it. You'll be human, but you'll be free. Free to love without losing yourself. Free to pursue goals without being paralyzed by fear of failure. Free to set boundaries without drowning in guilt. Free to choose yourself without apologizing. Free to walk away when something no longer serves you. Free to change your mind, your path, your entire life, because you're no longer chained to who you used to be. This is what living free looks like. Not perfect, not painless, but powerful, intentional, yours, the final truth. You've been holding yourself hostage with your own pain. You've been the prisoner and the guard, the cage and the key, and you always had the power to walk free. Everything that happened to you was real. The pain was real, the betrayal was real, the loss was real. No one is asking you to pretend otherwise. But staying trapped in it? That's a choice you've been making every day by rehearsing old wounds, replaying old stories, and recreating old patterns. Today, you make a different choice. You choose to be the woman who survived, not the woman who stayed stuck. You choose to use your past as fuel, not as a cage. You choose to define yourself by where you're going, not where you've been. This is the art of letting go. Not forgetting, not denying, not bypassing, releasing. Releasing the weight you were never meant to carry. Releasing the story that your past determines your future. Releasing the belief that you need permission from anyone, including the people who hurt you, to move forward. You are not your trauma. You are not your pain. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You are the one who survived it all, and you get to decide what happens next. The art of letting go is the art of living, fully, freely, powerfully, on your terms. You've carried the weight long enough. Now put it down and walk forward into the life that's been waiting for you. You were always free. You just had to remember. Conclusion. The chains were never real. They were stories, beliefs, meanings you assigned to experiences. And now you know you're the one who's been holding the key all along. Letting go isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you otherwise, before the hurt, before the betrayal, before the fear convinced you that holding on was safer than releasing. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not the accumulated weight of everything that's ever happened to you. You are the awareness that can observe it all, the consciousness that can choose differently, the power that can create something new. Every moment is a chance to begin again, to choose peace over being right, to choose freedom over familiarity, to choose yourself fully, unapologetically, powerfully. The work you've done in these pages isn't finished. It's just beginning. Because the art of letting go isn't a destination, it's a practice, a daily commitment to living unburdened. Some days will be easy, some will be hard. Some days you'll feel light as air. Some days the old weight will try to creep back in. That's okay. That's human. What matters is that now you have the tools, the understanding, the awareness. You know how to catch yourself when you're slipping. You know how to release what's trying to take hold. You know how to choose differently. This is your life, your one precious, irreplaceable life. And it's waiting for you to live it fully. Not someday, not when you're healed enough, not when circumstances are perfect or people finally change. Now. So take a breath, feel the weight lifting, feel the space opening, feel the freedom that was always yours, and step forward into the unknown, into the uncertain, into the beautiful, messy, unpredictable adventure of a life lived free. You were always free. You just had to remember. Now go live like it.